In case you haven't heard, ChatGPT 4's Socratic Tutor is a big deal. Here's why. Socrates taught by a dialectical method, a method of question and answer, having conversations with people and giving them just the right piece of information, just the right question to get them thinking more carefully about what it is that they actually understood, what they actually thought, and by trying to bring things into clarity, he helped his interlocutors to realize that they didn't actually know what they thought they knew. And this Socratic tutor that we see with ChatGPT 4 is nothing more than an avatar, and that might seem to be very commonplace now, and something that's relatively simple. Saying, okay, look, take on a certain personality, and in taking on that personality, instead of just giving me the answer, I want you to ask leading questions so that the questions will facilitate my own thinking and help me to figure out how to actually do it. When they gave an example of this at the press conference, the example led the person through something in mathematics. It's nice that it's mathematics, and I'm sure Plato would have really appreciated that. And so the name Socratic Tutor is very appropriate. But nevertheless, it kept asking questions and didn't just give you the solution. It kept asking questions of you to get you to think about how it is that it worked, until in the end, you finally get to the real solution. Well, that's really important, because that's precisely the sort of thing that a Socratic teacher and that a teacher in general should be doing. So instead of just giving someone the answer, especially where you're trying to learn how to do it, where math requires a certain kind of insight, it requires a certain kind of seeing, how it is that all the pieces work together, how it is that I can go from step 1 to step 2 to step 10, in a way that's sensible. In other words, not just following the recipe, but actually understanding why it makes sense. That's a high art, so to speak, and it's something that can be revealed by questions. If you've ever worked with a tutor, especially in mathematics, oftentimes this is the disposition that is useful for the tutor and that they will frequently adopt. They probably don't call themselves a Socratic tutor, but that's the kind of thing that's going on. So they'll say, okay, well, you did this. Why did you think that you needed to do this? What is it about the setup with this problem that, we need to work on? What's going on here? What is the logical next step? What do we see that we can do with these equations? Whatever the questions might happen to be that are useful to you. And they slowly lead you down a train of thought to get to that insight, to make those associations, and to cause that kind of firestorm of brain activity that is insight in tying together all of those associations. That's more or less the key. And this is why it is that this is a big deal, because if the Socratic tutor works well, and it's something that we can refine over time so that it understands how it is that you're thinking and provides you with just the piece of information that you need to be able to move from the steps that you've done so far to the steps that you're going to need to do to be able to complete the whole sequence, tie it all together, and get that eureka moment of insight. That's something that is extremely powerful and will really make possible a lot of learning. But there's something specific going on here that may not be obvious. As it's trying to determine what is the next piece of information that I need to give you, a human tutor is able to do this because they have what's called a model of mind. In other words, we have some notion of how it is that the person with whom we're speaking is thinking. If I understand how it is that you're thinking, then I am better prepared to be able to give you, to find that piece of information that is perfect for you, the thing that you need to move from where you are right now to a higher level of understanding. In other words, the implication is the Socratic tutor in ChatGPT 4 is a stepping stone to a more sophisticated model of mind, so that the large language model is able to actually understand in some way and model how your thought is working, so that they can then figure out what is the next piece of information that I need to give you to take you from where your understanding is now to a higher level of understanding. That is not an insignificant thing. This is not just looking things up in an encyclopedia. I mean, this is a high art. We're getting at the heart of what teaching is itself. And so that's something that you may not have thought to be excited about when you saw the press conference or when you're hearing about it, that, oh, sure, it can take on a personality and ask you questions. But I think this may explain why it is that that's going to be really important. It also explains why it's going to be really hard, but we shall see how effective that is.